Take one green cabbage and cut it in half. Chop it up until it's quite small. So after chopping the green cabbage up a bit more, I got 3 cloves of garlic, actually a small one there, so that's 4, and some very hot pepper. This is cayenne. You could use cayenne, but a hotter pepper is preferred. I take a large peanut butter jar, which is about 1 liter, and I sterilize it with boiling hot water. I put the lid on and sterilize that too with boiling hot water, and I leave it for a good 15 minutes until I'm ready to put the contents in. I put a layer of cabbage in the bottom with a sprinkling of hot peppers and about a 1/4 clove of garlic cut up. I put another layer approximately 1 inch up with some more hot peppers and garlic, about the other half of the clove of garlic cut up into 3 or 4 pieces. I put another layer of cabbage, about 1 inch, and then I put another sprinkling of hot peppers and another half clove of garlic. Now we've got the peanut butter jar completely filled up to the top with green cabbage, sliced green cabbage, and garlic and hot peppers. Now we're going to prepare the salt in water. Put in 1 heaping tablespoonful of pickling salt into 500 milliliters of hot water and stir. After a minute or 2 of stirring, the pickling salt will be completely dissolved into the 500 milliliters of water. Fill all the spaces up with water. Keep on pouring the water in until it gets right to the top. That should fill up everything. Then put the cap on and leave it for a month. That will allow there's 3 different bacteria that take over. So the first one will start bubbling after 2 or 3 days, and then that'll go for a few days or a week, and then the next bacteria will take over, and then that one will stop and a third one will take over. So a month will give you lots of fermentation time and will allow the kimchi to become very spicy and rich flavored. But remember, this is an extremely hot kimchi, and if you don't have a really strong palate, don't make this. It has an intense garlic taste and it'll burn your tongue like nobody's business, but it's very good. This is what it looks like when it's with the lid on, and I always leave it in a cool, dry place to ferment, and it builds up pressure, and over the month it quite often will ooze some of the water out, but just dry it off. It's harmless, and bubbling is normal, and that really is basically all there is to it. Mark the date on it and eat it after a month. I wouldn't eat it. You can eat it sooner, but it's best after a month. It's at its peak after a month. So that's how I'd recommend eating this kimchi. Here I've cut up the green cabbage even finer than in the previous one. I'm going to put it in a smaller peanut butter jar, which requires only 1/4 of a cabbage. But I'm going through the same process. I put boiling water in the jar with the lid on, and I've left the boiling water in it until I'm ready to put the cabbage in it. For this smaller 1/4 cabbage container, 1 clove of garlic should be enough for the whole bottle. Just halve the ingredients, but still layer with peppers at 1 inch, and cut up a couple of small bits of clove uh, every inch also. I can't emphasize enough that the most important thing in this process is cleanliness and hygiene. You have to sterilize everything. Absolutely. One thing I didn't mention was that you can make less space and fill in more cabbage if you take a large knife and just stab and cut as you're making layers of, and then it cuts the cabbage into smaller bits and also spreads the pepper and garlic around better. So here I've added the top layer and stabbed it and filled it up with water right up to the brim. And I'll put the cap on. Leave it for a month and it'll be very good and spicy. So you might wonder why we use salt in this recipe. As I mentioned, there are 3 different types of good bacteria that cause this cabbage to ferment. And if we keep it a completely sterile process, the only bacteria that will grow are the ones that are in the cabbage, the ones that ferment the cabbage itself and digest the cellulose. Now, if we put salt in it, non-iodized salt, we will create an environment that makes it almost impossible for the pathogenic bacteria like staph, E. coli, things like that to grow, and it allows the good bacteria to take over. So the salt just is basically a sterilizing agent, a natural sterilizing agent that keeps down the bad bacteria, molds and bacteria. So that's it. That's how you make my recipe of, I guess it's a kimchi. Koreans have tried this recipe. I've given it to Korean friends and they really liked it. So that's a good endorsement, I think. Give it a try. Hope you enjoy.